Okay, so we've been watching every Resident Evil animated film before the release of Death Island.
We watched one so far.
Resident Evil Degeneration. She's never seen any of them, so these are all her first time. To catch you up, this film is set in 2005 in the Resident Evil timeline. We get a lot of retcons from 1998. We got this character, Angela, the first white girl that Leon's ever had feelings for. He doesn't have yellow fever in this one.
I would argue he didn't have any feelings.
That's not true.
I think the earliest chronological thing that happens in this film is Angela's story about when she was a rookie for SRT and she jumps in that river to save that drowning girl, and then she wakes up in the hospital. 3 other people were put in the hospital trying to fish her ass out the river.
That was after Raccoon City when her family died?
That was before Raccoon City, because that's when Curtis Miller, her brother, says that ridiculous line that he got from Ricky Bobby's dad.
If you don't try to save one life, you'll never save any.
And then she said his words came back to haunt him, which apparently I guess he saved himself in the Raccoon City incident and not his family.
Let me through! Let me through!
Then we get to the Raccoon City incident. Everything gets convoluted. We got Senator Ron Davis holding hands with the president who resigns. The government's being accused of working with Umbrella on the virus. People don't even know if there really was a virus or not. They just know the city was nuked. We don't find out who that president was or who the new president is. We got the dissolution of Umbrella, which has to be 2003 after the events of Umbrella Chronicles. And what am I forgetting?
Then just the attacks in India, I guess.
The human rights organization S.T.A.R.S has demanded that Will Pharma immediately release the results of their clinical tests conducted in India.
So Will Pharma is a thing out of nowhere, and we have no idea when Will Pharma starts up.
Pharmaceutical company Will Pharma issued a press release on establishing a new research facility in Harvardville.
Frederick Downing isn't Frederick Downing's real name. He managed to steal the T and G virus from Raccoon City and get out before the incident. This is an event we've never heard of. When did this go down? Who is he?
This is the G virus.
So he steals a virus, but then erases his past and decides, I can't sell these viruses to terrorists because he doesn't have a vaccine for the T virus and G virus. So he gets employment with Will Pharma, becomes their lead researcher. He orchestrates these bioterror attacks that he blames on General Belgrande from the Republic of Majiri in India. This gets Will Pharma funding from the Pentagon to create a vaccine. So now he's getting the vaccine. He's trying to sell the vaccine and virus to General Grande, who he pinned these terrorist attacks on. But it kind of blows up in his face because TerraSave is now restricting Will Pharma with a bunch of red tape to stop them from manufacturing and distributing their vaccines. Ronnie's parents died, and we're assuming died in one of the Indian outbreaks just by the fact that she's Indian and now living with Aunt.
He said he was going to go help my mother, but he didn't come back, and neither did she.
We have a problem, an inconsistency. You know, the biodome that was made got allocated $1 billion from the government. We assume it's before Halloween of 2005.
That Halloween is celebrated earlier in India than in the U.S., maybe?
According to the computers on the monitors in the movie, it's a Sunday in 2005. So this facility was built and constructed within a year, where they built a 2,000-foot hole in the earth as wide as this dome. I'm not buying it.
When was it given the money?
In the beginning, if you're assuming all the reports on the news are chronological order, they report that 2005 has already reached 1 million deaths in bioterrorism. Then the Pentagon grants them $1 billion.
Okay, so it's somewhere between January and September.
Curtis Miller was a Will Pharma researcher, but then Angela's like, I haven't heard from my brother in 3 years. That must be around when he learned the truth about Raccoon City.
Our organization has disassociated itself from Dr. Miller.
Okay, so these things have existed since at least 2002.
So maybe they had already had the thing under construction, but then got $1 billion for their worldwide vaccine research. Does that catch us up to speed?
Yeah, you covered more now than I got during the movie, so we're good, I think.
You have to watch the movie multiple times. You have to take notes on this.
You actually don't have to. You could actually just like let it go.
This literally needs the Star Wars scroll before it. This is the first animated film that I've had to watch multiple times. It's almost like Inception. After Inception had been out, I watched it over and over and over, and I was like, 5 months later, I was like, holy shit, these are dreams within dreams. I'm like, Frederick Downing was the bad guy, but he was the researcher, and then he erased his path. Like, there's so much that goes over your head in this.
Yeah, this film is so advanced. Like, you have to watch it so many times to get it, to even break the surface.
So the film starts at an airport
In Harvardville, home to 100,000 residents.
a substitute for Boston.
So Claire's there.
Busty Claire is there. She's like busting out of her shirt, can't even button that shit up. She's played by Allison Court, classic Claire. This is the absolute spirit of Claire. We love her in this. I don't have a problem with anything she does.
Yeah, she was good.
Claire arrives in the airport and she's meeting this brown lady named only known as Aunt.
Aunt. And she's the aunt to this little kid.
I'm Ronnie.
We randomly get a glimpse of a guy on an airplane that's a zombie.
Would you like me to bring you some water?
It's urgent.
Was he turning into a zombie?
He's like, I'm not sick, I promise.
I was thinking that plane was coming from India and Aunt was Indian too. And she has to take off to go take a shit or something. He looked like he had eaten some Indian food too.
Well, he was on the plane and Aunt and the kid were in the terminal. So they're not related.
Ron Davis is in full support of this Will Pharma facility in Harvardville, which is a huge conflict of interest because he's a major stockholder in the company. Isn't that some Nancy Pelosi shit? Like, that's illegal.
He has like a witch face, like he's an evil politician.
This movie is just so full of coincidences.
The bad guy! Claire! It's him!
Curtis Miller.
Curtis Miller flees Raccoon City, then moves to Harvardville.
This is the road to Curtis's home.
Frederick Downing, he flees Raccoon City and coincidentally moves to Harvardville to work for Will Pharma at that research facility and becomes lead researcher. And then Senator Ron Davis goes to visit Harvardville and they all converge in this airport at the same day. Why is the guy on the plane turning into a zombie when there's a zombie outbreak in the terminal? If Frederick Downing didn't land from a plane.
What are you doing here?
So he's in the airport terminal. So I'd assume he was waiting for Ron Davis to show up. But then he's like, I'm weary of waiting. I'm going to call a taxi. And it's like, you live in this town. Why don't you have your own car there? Did you not show up in an airplane or something?
Yeah, and this is post 9/11, so you can't just like hang out at the airport.
So all these people are protesting at the Harvardville airport because Senator Ron Davis is showing up for
the National Pharmaceutical Conference.
The TSA chief of police is like, I can't arrest these protesters. They haven't done anything. And it's like, dude, this is after 9/11. You can't have a gang, a mob of people outside of an airport.
Yeah, but he can arrest Claire because she witnessed the zombie attack and tried to jump in and save it.
Multi-level terror attack at the airport. The plane crashes into the terminal on the ground floor.
Yes.
And we have two suspects. Frederick Downing got up right before the plane shows up, and then Curtis Miller.
Curtis Miller?
And do you know who else disappears right before the attack?
Aunt.
And
that kid is rude, dude. I'd hate to hang out with that kid.
She didn't do anything wrong.
And she's like, hey, look, it's that bad guy.
No, she's exactly like, she's just right. She's just telling the truth.
That bad guy?
That's that
piece
bad
of
guy
shit?
that was on TV.
Another thing I noticed that you didn't notice is Claire has Biden vision when it comes to finding children. She scans the whole airport. She's like, Ronnie, where's Ronnie? And if you look, everyone is blurry like tunnel vision, but then Ronnie is crisp, clear.
That is mom vision.
The only thing
that's
in
like,
focus is this little kid running.
That's a woman caretaker vision. She was tasked with watching that child.
Leon says that. You went down a path your brother and I couldn't follow. You are the
taking care of
babysitter.
Kids. Oh my gosh.
I also want to point out there's this like fat redheaded James Gordon guy in the airport who looks directly in the camera as Claire's hugging Aunt. This is a fucking animated film. Why is there an actor looking into the camera?
That's really funny.
This film is pretty progressive too. There was a lot of interracial couples if you look in the background at the airport.
It's an international airport.
And then as soon as the cops start arresting people, the black man sits down and is not looking at them and is just looking away, minding his own business. And he did the right thing because Claire got arrested.
Yeah.
So Claire and Senator Davis and 2 other survivors and the little kid Ronnie or whatever end up in the VIP lounge on the west wing of the Harvardville International Airport.
You don't count Ronnie as a survivor?
No, remember there was 4, but then 1 ran off. He did the lady scream and it was the senator's secretary.
Yeah,
and they were like, that was you screaming like a bitch?
You're the one?
You're like, all these people and these survivors and then Ronnie. I'm like, okay, she survived too. Give her some credit.
So I was trying to figure out the real life time, date, and location of this movie. The terror attack in the airport starts at 3 p.m. according to the clocks in the airport. And using the tower and the east and west wings of the airport and shadow with altitude of the sun and shit, I determined that
It's
this
sometime
place...
before Halloween.
Nope. It doesn't exist anywhere in America.
Oh.
So yeah,
So it's an
this
animated
movie
film.
fucked up big time. Editor's note. While making this video, I found the exact date and time that Resident Evil Degeneration is set in. October 23rd, 2005. SRT arrives on scene. They, for some reason, can't do anything because their chief...
Damn it!
Aw, what's the matter? Chief Jackass again?
It was like Uvalde.
How? They didn't do... They
weren't allowed to go in and save the people.
And they've got 14 911 calls coming from within the airport. And they only respond to one of them. That's Claire's. What happened to the other?
I don't know. I was disappointed that Leon wasn't like, that's Claire.
Oh, yeah. You didn't recognize her voice. I recognized her voice anyway.
Yeah.
So Leon shows up and he is so fucking bored. He is sick of his life.
This
He
man,
hates himself.
It's like he probably gave up drinking.
Maybe that's his attitude in this. Okay, so you haven't
definitely doesn't want to be there.
Even seen the other animated films. Leon is a fucking hardcore alcoholic. He identifies the fucking alcohol in the air. What is that called? Anhydrous androgynous ethanol or some shit like that.
Anhydrous ethanol.
Within 1 second of being sprayed with the shit, he recognized the purity of the alcohol content being misted on him. So I think you're right. Maybe he's going through withdrawals in this film.
I wish when it was raining, he's like Everclear.
I think they ran out of budget on motion capture for his character or something because he doesn't do anything. He's stiff as a board. You chose the path of caretaker. Your brother and I could not follow 7 years ago in Raccoon City.
You look exactly like him right now.
Anyway, so Leon shows up and he picks the most juvenile, worst 2 members.
Yeah! Woo!
You know, he picked Angela for her big boobs.
Nah, he literally took the 2 people standing in front of the room.
Leon, Angela, and Greg drop into the airport with no repelling gear. They fucking get rope burn on their
They're
hands.
just following the specialist and like he's got gloves and they don't, so
They encounter just the minimalist amount of zombies going through the roof. But when they get to the senator, they are like, nah, we're not going to go back up to the roof and get picked up by a helicopter. We're going to go through the path of most resistance and walk through the front doors where we get the risk of being shot at. I don't understand any of the hand signals. Angela gives a hand signal, but Leon's like, no, that. And he gut punches Greg and Angela books it off. They ignore everything he says.
The only way to stop the spread of infection is to destroy the infectees' brains. Shoot them in the head.
It's impossible.
I told you. The only way to stop them is to shoot them in the head.
Her impulsiveness put everyone else's lives in danger, and we see this by Greg getting attacked by zombies.
What the hell are you doing?
Greg! Telling us that she hasn't learned a fucking lessons since when that kid was drowning.
If her motto is like save at least one person, like what was her goal in that moment?
She's the one person saving herself.
I don't think that's how that motto works.
Has she ever shot anyone before? Because she shoots that one lady zombie in the knee and she's like, this is not possible.
Yeah, well, it's like good policing. Don't pop them all in the head.
It's corn pop them in the knee.
I wanted a better reunion of Claire and Leon than we got. He didn't even really acknowledge that he knows her until he's like, she survived RE2.
He isn't even the least bit excited to see her.
You'd think he'd be like, shit, you're here? Like, this
You know
is
what I think it is? He works for the White House. He has special Secret Service authorization to spy on people. He's been keeping up with her and he saw that she's been f***ing Neil Fisher of TerraSave. That's literally the first thing out of her mouth in this film. When she steps off the airplane, it's totally inappropriate. Aunt is like, dude, you look haggard as f***. And she was like, blame my new boyfriend. He won't stop touching me and f***ing me at night.
You look tired.
Blame my new boyfriend. He won't let me get any sleep.
It gets even more inappropriate because Ronnie then says,
Aunt, I'm tired.
So it's like, who's f***ing Ronnie?
Okay, stop.
What is that, dude? I think that explains why she's so f***ing haggard looking in Revelations, because she's just been getting nonstop dick every night and not sleeping from Neil.
Okay.
That's it. Senator Ron Davis pushes Ronnie off the airplane wing. And this is where we find out Leon was packing 2 guns the entire time. Mm-hmm. He throws one to Claire. Why didn't he give that up to begin with? It was like that scene from Dumb and Dumber. You've had 2 gloves this entire time. This was ultimate Claire.
Claire
She's
was
fucking
great.
badass. When Leon throws that gun to her, that is the best scene in the movie. Ron Davis makes it to the exit, doesn't get lit up, and then Claire commits treason or what?
She smacks him and he falls over. She says, keep my little child's name out your fucking mouth.
She should get more time than the January 6th protesters.
He probably literally feared for his life in that moment, so...
Will Pharma trucks show up? Claire fucking loses it.
What the hell is going on? Why are Will Pharma drugs being brought here?
And then Frederick Downing exposes himself.
He comes in and he goes, I'm a good guy. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And they go, oh, okay, he's a good guy.
Ron Davis is like, if it hadn't been for TerraSave, Greg wouldn't have died. But it's all thanks to you, Claire, that these people died. And so she goes into a tent and sulks. And this is where we get the worst Leon moment in history.
That's not true. The villains here are the ones who use the virus.
And seriously, if you have a vaccine this valuable, why would you then try and sell it on the black market and risk everything? Like, you could just be living like Fauci with just selling it. You don't need to sponsor terrorism.
Okay, Will Pharma, try giving it to Big Pharma.
Then the vaccine trucks blow up. But what's really suspicious is Frederick Downing is just chilling. Like, he knows no more secondary explosions are going to go
that man
off.
is suspicious the entire time, and for some reason,
Claire
all he
wants
has to
his
do
dick.
is say, actually, I was a good guy.
Now it clicks in Claire's head that Curtis Miller was the terrorist. She should have reported this immediately from the 911 phone call.
And the girl goes, my brother.
Curtis Miller is my older brother.
And this is a f***ing trend to Leon. You'll find out if you keep watching the animated films, but he's always withholding information.
That's not true.
When they're like, what did the terrorists demand? He's like, nothing. And then 2 seconds later, he's like,
They demand the truth.
so Angela leaves to go find her brother, and Leon tags along with her.
And turns out he lives like just down the street.
Another big coincidence for this film.
Pretty quick drive, and his house is on fire. And instead of her thinking, this is suspicious, or thinking, is he dying in there? Should I call the fire station? She just sits there and cries.
But then she's like, I'm going to stop my brother. And she doesn't know if he's in there or not.
So I guess it kind of shows he was like attached to the terrorist attacks, because like they were on fire and his house is on fire.
So conveniently, family photo of Curtis Miller survives the fire and she sees it. But it's like that terrorist passport in 9/11. And then so I got to thinking about 9/11 with this film. There are so many subliminal 9/11 imageries in this. You go back to the news report, where the news anchor's name is C. West, and it's showing a picture of the Pentagon. The Pentagon was hit on the west wing, and it penetrated all the way to the C ring on 9/11. And then we have 2 separate terror attacks on the same location, kind of like the World Trade Centers. You got the zombie outbreak in the terminal, and then the plane hitting ground level like the Pentagon.
Can't explain that.
Answer this. We see Curtis Miller getting arrested, and it shows a police car. The police car says 9/11 on it.
911.
Yeah. You might think it's just 911, the phone call, but then the cop car's number is 28, which is a fire engine we lost on 9/11.
And while they know enough about 9/11 to put in these really obscure subliminal messages, they don't know how TSA works. Just to be honest with you, I don't think you have a very strong argument here.
I have like 10 points that point to 9/11. So Claire's also thinking with her dick. She sees Frederick Downing leaving.
Can I help you with something?
It might be the funniest thing she says in the whole movie.
Don't worry, I'm not scheming to infiltrate your organization for my own devious purposes.
Frederick Downing is just minding his business leaving because of a side comment Leon said, is the vaccine data safe? And you know Frederick Downing knows the vaccine data safe because he's the bad guy that orchestrated all this, but he's going to Will Pharma to check on the vaccine data. So he drives her back to Will Pharma, and it's pretty embarrassing. His card doesn't work. It's declined over and over.
I would have jumped out by then.
And I don't get this. They never explain it.
Yeah, they don't explain it. Maybe Curtis like swapped cards.
I was thinking that, but maybe Curtis got into the biodome by checking in under Frederick Downing, and that's why Frederick Downing couldn't get in. So Claire gets some tea and crumpets, and out of nowhere, Frederick Downing confesses that they have the G virus in there. Right after he gets this suspicious call from Senator Ron Davis being like, don't show her anything she doesn't need to see. And he immediately shows her the worst thing to show her.
This is the G virus.
They can't even work on the G virus because they got it through illegal means, when it doesn't need a vaccine because it can't infect people that it's not related to. You'd have to be the fucking Duggars. The dad would have to get infected and then have sex with all his kids, and that's how the G virus would spread.
Tell Dr. Fauci that.
Claire does the dumbest thing.
Yeah, she goes, I'm gonna call Leon.
Immediately.
Don't call him. Okay, well, if you're gonna call him, I guess I'll just go check on something.
I think the reason he wrote Claire off and decided to blow her up is because she put her fucking grimy mitts all over his window. Yeah. She's invited into this office. She plants her hands on the window. The place blows up. Papers fly everywhere.
Yeah.
Leon rushes with Angela, SRT there.
Turns out Curtis's house was about 30 seconds away from the lab.
And for some reason, they go separate ways. He was like, I'll take 0 through this way, and you take 3, 4, whatever. She immediately just goes into the garden. She didn't go through the fucking rings and then into the garden. 2 seconds later, we see her in the garden with Curtis, who has injected himself with the G virus.
I swore I'd make them reveal it, no matter what it took.
So Curtis Miller turns into a G mutant or whatever, but he's different than Birkin. He doesn't get the extra appendages. He grows a tail, you know.
He has the same arm with the same eyeball.
Yeah, that's something I don't like.
I recognized him right away.
Like, so G virus always going to create the arm with the eyeball, or is it like random chaos of mutations, you know? What happens if a woman is infected with the G virus? Is she gonna get 2 eyeballs?
Men have nipples too, like.
We've never seen that. That would have been different.
Yeah, it would have been weird.
So it's Leon, Angela, the Marines. They all didn't have the fucking access card to get in there, but they all ended up in there. And then the place gets locked down. It's the slowest purging system in history.
Incineration will initiate in 5 minutes. All exits are now sealed.
They decide, let's put all the Marines in the elevator, and they all die.
Yeah, they let everyone go in the elevator, and then Angela's like, Leon and I can't fit. My ass is too fat.
Glass falls between Leon and Angela. It's like this 3 feet wide piece of glass. Leon's banging on it like he's never going to see her again. He's like, run. And she's like, what?
They've already run through all these little pieces of glass. And
She's
this
like,
one
just fucking step around the glass, dude. And this is something I don't get. They fall in this water pit and kiss for no reason. That's not the part that I don't.
That's the worst part of the whole thing. Like, she's like not conscious. I don't know.
She's totally conscious.
Nah, it was. I
She's
mean,
just
she
out of breath in 1 second.
She wasn't moving. She's just laying there in the water, and he just pulled mouth to mouth.
My issue is they're in the garden ring. They jump in a puddle of water. The garden falls 2,000 feet. And all the water spills out. They rush out to the 2,000-foot drop, but then they're in a hallway. What is going on here? It's exactly like the T-Rex paddock in Jurassic Park 1, where the T-Rex touches the wire, breaks through the wire, and then drops the car 300 feet over a ledge. It's like, where was the T-Rex standing that entire time? It's exactly like that. Yeah. I know we've been praising Claire this whole movie, but this is the most uncharacteristic. She would never do this in a million years. She diverts the air pressure system or whatever to change the pressure of the dome, which is going to cause a fucking biohazard for all of Harvardville.
And it says this will cause a biohazard.
Right.
And she's like, I know what Leon would do, and flips all the switches. I will not be surprised if they use the same purging system in Death Island.
And Alcatraz has the same thing.
We've seen it in Infinite Darkness, and it's the same motivation. The guy injects himself, wants to become a monster, and then show the world. Why don't they turn into monsters outside the facility that's designed to kill them too?
Yeah, wouldn't it be a little more probable you didn't do it in front of the only people who know how to kill it?
Yeah. Leon and Angela get separated, and that little family photo saves the day for a second.
Run! No! I don't want to hurt you.
If you missed the throwaway line about the air pressure supporting the roof, you would be like, how the f did Leon save Angela? He just magically appears behind her, groping her, and the floor falls out. And it's because the air pressure is not supporting the roof, so the catwalk along the roof is coming down, and it just so happens to come down behind Angela. Curtis Miller's tail, which he shouldn't even have, grabs her ankle, and then he says that Ricky Bobby line, if you can't save anyone, why save anyone?
Isn't that right, Curtis?
Next thing we know, he's hanging upside down off the catwalk. He's holding her with just a hand. I was like, is he holding the catwalk with his foot? Like his knees just holding onto the bar. How did they get out of that position though?
You said this was like some Cirque du Soleil shit. Oh, yeah. And the floor closes up right when the explosion happens. And then they whip around because the catwalk falls from their fat ass.
They become acrobats.
And he's like mounting her for a really uncomfortable long time
he's
after
like just
that.
laying on top of her. Trauma bonding.
They go out in the parking lot. Claire has her revelations. She accuses Senator Davis of orchestrating the terror attacks, which she's not entirely wrong, but I do think he was innocent in the fact that he doesn't know about the G virus.
Somehow Leon knows everything. Claire, he wasn't a part of this.
General Grande's communication man talked. It seems that all of us, the senator included, were fooled by him.
This whole side Miguel Grande thing, we never even see this dude.
Who are you talking about?
This dude gets arrested in Los Angeles, squeals to the US government, reveals everything, and it was Frederick Downing all along who was doing this twisted sales pitch. Now that he had the vaccine, he was trying to sell it to General Grande. And another thing that doesn't make sense is Frederick Downing is on the phone with General Grande's guy at the meeting point. He says, it's going to cost you extra for the G virus. And then he's like, but I must say, the G virus is completely volatile and not worth it. Like, that is not how you sell a virus.
Yeah.
And then Angela shows up and pulls the trigger on an empty gun, which is a good thing she's not Alec Baldwin.
Dude, that woman was not. I'm glad we had Claire in this, I'll say that much.
Don't kill me, I'm begging you, please! No!
For some reason, Angela puts on a dress.
Yeah, she looks great.
Shows her big old titties. You were like, why is Claire still dressed the same? And it's because she lost her baggage in the airport terrorist attack.
She just has to wear her nasty clothes that have been fighting zombies.
And I love the fact that when it's all said and done, Leon's so fucking awkward. He just sprints away from all the girls that want him.
Yeah,
he just runs away to the helicopter.
He didn't seem super interested in seeing Angela again. That's when I was getting major boy energy. She's like, maybe we could go diving again. And he's like, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And, you know, the true villain got away with everything. We see Ant with the limousine. So let us know in the comments, you want Julia to watch Infinite Darkness and we do this again, or do we go straight to Damnation, where it's Leon versus Hillary Clinton in Russia? You get a lot of Ada. You get a lot of Ada in that. But then we got to watch Vendetta, and we're going to be pushing it right up to last minute when that Vendetta review comes out, because once we get that Vendetta video out, Death Island will be out.
Cannot wait for Death Island. All I want is a good reunion in Death Island. I want them to all be happy to see each other and work together. And that's a little too much to ask for around here, but...
Well, we'll find out with Death Island.
Claire was great, and I'm rooting for Leon.
Okay, bye-bye. Join the Patreon.